Is that where you are right now? Yeah, that's not where you want to be. Can you get back on one or two? Back up there. Right. Representative Joanne Emerson, Major General Michael Walsh, Commander of Mississippi Valley Division at MRC, Mr. Sam Angel, Mississippi River Commissioner, Mr. R.D. James, Mississippi River Commissioner, and Mr. Stephen Gambrell, Executive Director of the Mississippi River Commission, and Mr. Colonel Bernie Reichlin, Commander of the Memphis District. At this time, General Walsh will make a brief statement.
Well, thank you all for coming out here today. I've been out here more than a few times since we've operated this system, but there's a couple of places where I hadn't been. And that was where that old abandoned gas station was, and that's where we made the decision when we were going to operate it. And many of you were here standing behind us, and certainly the congresswoman and the commissioners were behind me when we had that press conference. When I was we were all making some white knuckle decisions to operate this system, and so we did. And so that was the first time I've been back to that fuel station, and it reminds me of where we were. And I look out into the field. These fields were 8 or 9 foot underwater for about 6 weeks until we got that water pushed out. And just look at the ingenuity of America's farmers. They got this seeded and undercrop, and this soybean you can see is another month, maybe a couple of weeks from harvest. So just a tremendous amount of work from the farmers to be able to turn this around from being 7 or 8 foot underwater to where we're at now. I did not expect. When my first time coming out here after we operated and seeing 8 foot of water that we'd be able to put this, you guys would be able to put this under crops. So great work and great ingenuity. Since that time, we've had our engineers out here 12 hours a day, 7 days a week to try and close these crevasses. There's 3 crevasses, and we committed to you all that we would get to 51 feet by November. And these crews been out here 7 days a week to close these crevasses and to get to 51. And I have to tell you, I am really grateful for the forefathers that made the decision back after the 1927 flood to put the Mississippi River Tributaries Project into effect. If they didn't make the decisions in 1927 to put this system together, we'd have had a catastrophic devastation on this side of the United States that we would still be digging out of. In 1927, we had 500 fatalities, and 600,000 people lost their homes. In this flood, 2011, larger than 1927, 0 people lost their lives during this flood. And a lot of that had to do with all of the work that the people, the Mississippi River Commission, and the political folks in this area decided to put the Mississippi River Tributaries Project in effect. And the nation invested about $13 billion into this project and stopped about $400 billion worth of damages. This year alone, this system averted $120 billion worth of damages and 0 fatalities. So that's a tremendous forethought of those folks in 1927 that put this system together. As you've heard from me before, this system has been under tremendous pressure. We have had our engineers up and down from the confluence area up here all the way to the Gulf of Mexico, looking at the system and finding a number of areas that need to be repaired. We've looked at just the repair portion alone about $1 billion, and then the restore piece another $1 billion. So the repair piece right now, the Corps of Engineers has given me about $75 million to start those repairs on that $1 billion that I had talked about. And the reason why we're able to get those funds is because the Secretary of the Army was able to move money from projects all over the United States take the funds at the outer edge and the out years and move that into this project and 12 other projects that we have in this area for life safety reasons. So I've had a conversation yesterday with a number of folks, $75 million in a year and $1 billion worth of requirements. There may be a risk that goes onto this system for the next decade as we work at it a little bit at a time to put the system back together. We're working hard with the Secretary and the Congress to make this happen as rapidly as we can. I had my engineers after we decided and made the commitment to get to 51 to bring to what other level can we bring this Birds Point, New Madrid levee system up and not affect the confluence area. And the engineers came back to me late last week, and the geologists and the H&H guys said that we could bring this area up to 55 feet along this levee system without having serious impacts across the confluence area. So there are manageable risks as we bring this up into 55 feet, and we're going to work on those directly. As I was talking with Congresswoman earlier today, and many of you, we made the engineering decision to go to 55 feet, and I requested funds, the $3 million, to bring this system up. And I know many folks were disappointed this morning when I talked to you and said I did not have the funds to bring this up to 55 feet. But just about 14 this afternoon, 2:14, I just got an email from headquarters that they honored my request to bring the $3 million into the system, and so we now have the engineering ability to bring it up to 55 feet. We have the funds available to bring it up to 55 feet on the and that was a lot of hard work and phone calling to make that happen, to get the engineering piece right, but also to get the funding in place as well. Recognize there are people all into this confluence area that are living with increased risks, as well as on the Mississippi River Tributaries project, and trying to reduce that risk over the time frame that we have funding available. I think I'll stop there and see if Congresswoman has some words.
Thanks, General. I just want to, first of all, thank everybody here whose lives have been so impacted by the flooding for your patience. It is very difficult, I know, always to understand how the federal government works, or state government for that matter. And believe me, I know I'm as frustrated as you are. I even suspect General Walsh would be too, because it just takes a lot longer to get decisions made. I'm very pleased that we're going to be able to take the levee up to 55 feet. It makes me feel better and certainly safer for both of you. And I am hopeful that we will be able to try to find monies to allow the General to finish the entire system's priorities. I will say this, that in our appropriations bill, when we did the Energy and Water House bill, I was able to get $573 million devoted specifically for the MR&T, and we hope as we finish out our appropriations bills, that will be just the first down payment, and that we'll be able to increase that number accordingly, certainly so that it doesn't take 10 years to fix the entire system, because I suspect that in that similar period we may have other challenges. So anyway, I'm very pleased today. I also want to make mention that the governor had willingly offered to assist if the General wasn't able to get funds from headquarters, but fortunately that all worked out, and we will save the state funds. We're actually up to 62.5, and we'll hopefully that will help a little bit anyway. So thank you all very much.
Our first priority is to get to 51. So we still have, obviously, the center crevasse here as you see it, to fill this sour hole in and cap it with clay. The other priority we're currently working on is up in the northern inflow area, where we're currently filling in the landside berm. So to answer your question, we're going to focus on getting our job done in terms of 51 foot. The second priority now is to go towards 55. And so what that'll take is about 80 good construction days All right, and a good construction day is a day like today. So, you know, I think everybody here in the locals would tell you that we only have a few more of these days left before this winter season starts to kick in. So we're looking at 80 good construction days.
Let me say that it's also important to get to that 55 foot. We recognize that from an engineering piece. When we get to 55 foot, we're not going to, we'll have manageable risk around the confluence area. So if we're not at 55 foot, and we're still constructing to that, and we get a flood coming down at that level, we know we'll be able to flood fight or do the best we can to flood fight to that level without having more than manageable risk in the confluence area. So having that number is important, one, for a flood fight, and if we have good weather between now and Christmas, we'll work those 80 days to get to the 55. But if we don't get to the 55 before the weather hits in, we're going to flood fight to 55.
So that's 80 days from 51 to 55, or from now to 55?
As soon as
As soon as we complete our operations to get to 51, we'll start moving towards 55.
And that's 80 days from 51 to 55.
That's correct.
sure.
You are, or at least you are, marginally ahead of schedule on most of these work here. If you continue at that pace, and we do continue to get good weather, when you hit 51, will you just keep going? Because there will not be a stop or a pause or a weeks-long study or whatever. We'll just keep going, and if the good construction days get us to 52 or 53 and a half or whatever, we'll keep going until we can't work anymore. Is that what we're understanding?
Yes, sir. That's correct.
So there'll be no pause. We can continue working through 51.
You're going to work as long as weather permits.
Is it 5 or 7 nights?
We're working 7 days a week, 10 to 12-hour days. We have crews from both Memphis and our sister district, Victoria.
And then to get back to 62 and a half, to, get things back the way they were, what has happened, that's an extra $1 billion. Did I understand that right?
To bring the Mississippi River Tributaries project, and that's from this area down to the Gulf of Mexico, there's $1 billion needed to bring the repair systems into place. A portion of that $1 billion would go into this project, and there's another $1 billion needed for full restoration.
Any idea how long it will take to get this portion back up to that?
Depends on its funding dependent.
General, you talked about to do this, you had both engineering issues and then funding. If the funding were to happen right away, you had the money for 62.5, are there still engineering issues to resolve before it's built to 62.5? And if so, how much longer to get those engineering issues resolved?
No, the engineers came and briefed me last week, Tuesday, and cleared this area to go to 55 feet. At that point, I asked for the funds, the additional $3 million to work on that. The engineering is good to 55. That'll bring us to manageable risk. Then we asked for the funds and received them half hour ago.
Yes, sir. I mean, let's say 55's done and you get the money for the 62.5. Are there additional engineering issues to be resolved? And if so, how long does it take to engineer from 55 to 62.5?
Right. There is more engineering, more ecological reviews that need to happen, and I don't have that time frame to put that study together.
The EA that you got, General, to go from where we were to where we are, doesn't that EA give you permission to go on up to 16.5?
Yes, sir. It does. The EA covered the whole restoration.
So there's really no effective stumbling blocks left, other than
There's a minor assessment because we're originally looking at a sandcorn levee. Now we're moving to a clay levee. But it's a minor thing that our planning folks will have to address. But it will not be any big problem.
so the only thing standing between us and the 16.5 foot levee is on a fuse plug anyway right now. And weather.
Well, that would be correct, but we're also working on other projects within this confluence area, the system. Fulton County, Kentucky. We've got a project working over there in Cairo, Illinois. There's four projects we're pushing on over there. So we're bringing the system up together so that we can manage that risk.
So even if you had the money and you had the permission and you had the EAs and everything done, if Cairo wasn't ready or Fulton County, Kentucky wasn't ready, you still wouldn't take the 16 and
Let me just answer that. There's a lot of ifs and ifs and ifs, and it's hard to answer with all of those ifs. We're going to put as much effort and priority in bringing this confluence area up as rapidly as we can.
Is that a yes?
That means we're going to work on it as rapidly as we can.
All due respect, Colonel, we're living with ifs and ifs and ifs out here trying to put our lives back together. I mean, we're just trying to get some in. That's all we do. We just want to know what we're faced with here so we can understand how to go with that.
I totally understand, and you guys have done tremendous work in putting these fields under crop. And I think Colonel Reichling's team has been working day and night trying to put this in together to give you as much protection as we possibly can. Committed to 51. We've now committed to work to the 55. I think we can use that information to decide what.
Still don't know whether the Earth will command its own way to be supplemented to the Aero Fulton County, Kentucky, or I still feel like we need to.
I think we're beginning part of that.
I don't understand yet if the interests of Burns Point and Madrid County floodway are going to be supplemented to the interests of Cairo, Fulton County, Kentucky, or wherever else you might bring up because of your system.
Right. The system. This is the Mississippi River Tributaries Project. It is a system, and it's the system that has the priorities. How do I take care of the system? There's other places in the system that also have impacts from here down to the Gulf of Mexico, and we need to take into consideration those issues as well. So it is a systems approach. We think about it as a system, and we'll fund it as a system.
General, was the $3 million you said it came from headquarters? Is that from the? Did I understand that correctly? That's from the Corps' budget.
There is an authority that the Secretary of the Army can move funds from a project that's authorized and appropriated someplace else and bring it to areas where there are life safety requirements. And she has done that to the tune of about $200 million. Mississippi Valley Division has about $75 million of that. We put a third of that here in this floodway.
Could I ask if you could just give us a brief description of how we're going about repairing the areas and what we're doing here?
Well, the first project was obviously to make it safe. That's what we're calling this operation. And so we took this on. What you're seeing here is filling of scour holes. When the floodway was activated, the water came in and dug on the other side of the levee and created large scour holes. So the first process is to fill those with sand and compact it. And then to take good clay material, which our levee districts have provided, and place that clay material and compact it. And then the next portion was to build the levee back up to 51. So that's kind of just a rough order of magnitude in the process we're doing. All right, I think we have time for maybe one more question.
I got one. Do you know when the flow data, like how many cubic feet per second were coming in at all these locations, will be available?
As far as I know, it's available now. USGS, you can go on their website.
They have it on the website now?
Yes,
okay.
Sir. We can arrange interviews in the future if you need to follow up this story. Just let us know, and we'll make sure we get you with a technical expert to help explain any of the technical issues that you may need for your work.
I think Kevin may have had a question.
Okay, sorry.
It really was a question. I was just going to say thank you guys for taking the time to talk to us and be as open and all the efforts going into it. Thanks guys for making it so the rest of the time. Appreciate you.
Again, thank you all for coming